Hello and welcome to my channel. I must make mention that today hasn't been a very good day for me. It's been quite emotional. I woke up on the emotional part, the emotional side, and so it's really been hard. But then as I was thinking and just recollecting my thoughts, I remembered a certain quote that I once read by Maya Angelou, which talks about it says, and I quote, "There is no greater agony than bearing an untold story within you." I decided to embrace the art of storytelling because I believe when I tell stories, I'm able to touch lives. Life is also touched in a way, and so having said that, I would like to share this story I first heard this story from my favorite storyteller, John Black. And so I've decided to do a retelling of the same story. And so the story is entitled, it's a fisherman's tale of love, loss and hope. And so I hope you enjoy, because I really, this story really captured my heart, and it's one of my favorite stories. So I hope it does to you. It did to me when I first heard it. Enjoy. Once upon a time, a king and his advisor were passing through the lake, and the king, looked across the lake and he saw a fisherman who was wearing his lungi, and he was there, busy fishing. He would cast his net in the water, pull it out, remove the fish, throw them back in the water, cast his net again, pull it out, and get the fish and throw them back in the water. And so the king wondered to say, that man is not fishing. What is he doing? I'd really love to speak with him. And so the king's advisor stepped forth, across the shore, and he called for the fisherman and said, "Hey, you! The king would speak with you." And so the fisherman, put his net, put it in his boat, and then he rowed over to the shore. And so when he reached to the king, he bowed and said, "Your Majesty, I am yours to command." And so the king said, "I've noticed that you're not fishing. Why are you throwing the fish back to the water?" And so the fisherman said to the king, "Your Majesty, I have a story to tell, and if only you have ears, please hear." And the king said, "Ooh, I love stories." And so they sat, the king, the fisherman, and the advisor, they sat, and the fisherman started narrating his story to the king. And so he said, "Your Majesty, I was a very vibrant young man. I was a very renowned fisherman in this place. I always come to this lake, fish, catch the fish and take to the market to sell. And after selling, I would go back home to my mother and would have a beautiful meal. But every evening, my mother would always taunt me, asking me to say, why am I not marrying? When am I going to give her grandchildren?" And so as I for me, I thought that I was not ready for marriage. I was just okay, with my life. Every evening after fishing, I would go to the bar. I was happy, looking at the women pass, as they pass across the bar, drinking on the pomegranate wine and also sipping on sweet hot coffee. And so my life was settled. My life was okay. Would also play bagamont with my men, and so that was satisfying to me. But my mother was there still saying, "Why am I not marrying?" So she always said, "You want me to die without holding my grandchildren?" "Your Majesty," said the old man to the king. And so one day, as I came to this lake, I was busy fishing on my fishing spree. I thought I had captured, my biggest catch. And so as I pulled my net out of the water, said the old man to the king, "Your Majesty, I saw a big box. Over this box swung a golden chain, over which there was a key, a golden key." And so I wondered, said the old man to the king. And so I got this key, and I put this box to the shore, and I got the key and I put it in the keyhole, and I opened the box, and lo and behold, there was this beautiful woman. She looked at me with a bedazzling smile, and I was taken. And so I wondered, who is this woman? And she told me, "I am your wife. Will you have me?" I did not wait for anyone to tell me to say what to think or what to do in that moment. I held that woman, in my hands, and then I held the box on the other hand. I went with her home. And so when I reached home, my mother asked, is this her? Is this her? Is this your wife, the one who's going to bear me grandchildren?" And I said, "Yes, ma'am." And my mother was there. And she went, throughout the village, and she invited people to our wedding, said the old man to the king. And so, it was a very beautiful, marriage. I was happy with my woman. My life just changed. I was very happy with my woman. And so I thought that, being a fisherman did not do my wife justice. And so I decided to learn a new skill. And so I became a goldsmith. And so I opened a workshop, and soon I started having commissions from the big and mighty, wanting me to make them, beautiful necklaces, rings, and, jewelry, bangles, and jewelry in general. And so I was doing well. Every piece of jewelry, every piece of ring, every piece of necklace that I was making in that workshop was in honor of my beautiful wife, said the old man to the king. And so, on every day I would come home, find my mother and my wife, they'll be singing, sometimes cooking, and it was a beautiful sight. And, no children yet, but we were happy. No children yet, but I was happy, said the old man to the king. And so, on this beautiful day, as I was in the workshop, working on a very hard necklace, on a very difficult necklace, first of all, an aroma swept through the door, and the door swung open, and here were 3 veiled women, and they were moving with one step. They entered the workshop, and they asked me, they were speaking behind their veils, and they asked me, "Goldsmith, are you happy?" And so I asked them, what kind of a question is this? Of course I'm happy. Of course I'm happy. Why would you ask me such a question? They said, okay, if you're happy. They laughed, and with one step, they turned, and the door swung open, and they left through the door, and then the door closed, leaving the aroma and the question in their wake. And so this man, this goldsmith, that question was drilling at the back of his mind, and he was wondering to say, why would these people ask me? Because I believe I am happy. And so after that, he could not even finish what he was doing. He stood up, he locked the workshop, and he went home to just confirm his happiness. And so when he reached home, he saw his beautiful wife and his mother, they were singing, having a nice time, and he was okay. He was, wow, this is happiness. And so he confirmed his happiness, and he was okay with that. But still more at the back of his mind, was this question, or that these 3 veiled women left at the back of his mind. And so the following morning, he jumped out of bed, and he did not need to say goodbye to his wife. He splashed water on his face, and off he went through the streets that he knew up to his workshop. So he continued to work on his, on his difficult necklace, but then he still had a feeling that these people would come. And so, as he was working, he still anticipated that these people would show up. And behold, they showed up. The aroma and the door swung open, and the 3 veiled women appeared, and they asked him, "Goldsmith, are you happy?" And he said, "But why would you, of course, why would you ask me such kind of a question?" And so they said, "Okay, if you're happy." They laughed behind their veils, and with one step, they turned, and off they went, leaving the aroma behind and the question at the back of the goldsmith mind. And so he started wondering, but why? Why would they ask me? Is there happiness that is more than what I'm experiencing? But what are they trying to say? And so that really bothered him, and because this man, was confused with this question at the back of the mind, he could not think properly. He could not even come for lunch. So he would just take walks, moving through the streets that he knew, moving and moving until his legs only bring him back to where his heart is and home. And so he would come home, and so when he came home, he went back, he climbed the stairs, checked on the wife. The wife was sobbing, and he could not bring himself to talk to her. He tried to sleep, he could not sleep because the question was drilling at the back of his mind. And when he reached home, the mother looked at him with that, that look that is only reserved for sons who discuss who their mothers. And so when he reached home, he asked, "Where is she?" And the mother said, "She's upstairs. She's sobbing because he did not show up for lunch." The 3rd day he came back for work, and he still felt the same way, and these women still appeared, the aroma, and then the door swung open, and they entered, and they still asked him, a goldsmith, with one voice at the back of speaking from the back of their veils, and they asked him, "Goldsmith, are you happy?" And this man said, "No, I'm not happy. I'm not happy. Would you show me happiness? Please show me happiness. And so these people said, follow us and we'll show you what happiness means. They laughed, behind their veils with one step. They turned, and this man, followed them. He locked his workshop, and off he followed them. And so they took him, through the streets that he knew, up to the streets that he never knew. And when they reached there, they reached a very beautiful oak door, and one of the women got a key and unlocked the door. And when the door swung open, there was a very beautiful orchard, with a beautiful table with different, foods, delicious things to eat and delicious things to drink. They put a seat for him. They told him, sit here. And the man sat there, and he looked at him. He was just, he was shocked and he was amazed at this women's beauty. And so as he reached there, one of them started massaging him. One of them started massaging his feet. The other one, started, washed his feet, washed his hands. And the other one, served him a platter of food. And so the one who was massaging him picked an oud and started playing intoxicating music. And this man was taken. But when these women, they were there trying to entertaining him, and after that he ate, they gave him beautiful things to drink, and he drank. And after that, the women now, dropped their veils, and they stood and said, will you choose me? And this man, as these women dropped their veils, this man thought to himself, I thought my wife was a thing of beauty, said the old man to the king. These women, your majesty, were beautiful. And so they, one of them pushed her leg in front, with as an indication that I should choose her. And so I didn't know who to choose. I was confused. And so this lady, tells me to say, choose me. And so this man, wondered, he got confused, but then he said, you. Yes, you. I choose you. And then he said, thank you. You choose me. So what you need to do now when you get home, put your wife back in the box and take her back to where you found her. Take her back to the lake, and you come back and have me. And so this man, he was, he did not even need to be told to say, please do this. He stood up and he went, through the streets that he didn't know, up the streets that he knew, up to his place. And when he reached home, he just went, he asked the mother to say, mother, where is she? Where is she? And the mother said, well, she's upstairs in her room. And so this man, climbed the stairs and went to the room the wife was, and the wife was there, pressing olives. And so this man said, come with me. And the woman said, what is it? What's the problem? What's the problem? Come with me. Don't ask me no questions. And so that's how this man, put this woman, removed the box where it was, it was kept, got the key, held the wife on the other hand, and then he was there pulling the box on the other hand, boom, 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 on the stairs as the box was coming down with the wife. And so the mother asked him to say, what? But why? Where are you taking her? Where are you taking her? And then the man said, mother, ask me no questions. And then the man, put the wife through the streets up to the lake, got the wife, put her back in the box and said, please don't, why are you doing this? It's simply because you don't have children. It's just a matter of time we'll have children. And this man said, it's not about children. Get in the box. And the woman got in the box, he locked the box, put it on his boat, and he rowed the boat up to the middle of the lake, and he dropped the box. He came back, to the streets that he knew. He was now looking for the oak door, trying to find this woman who had, this beautiful woman who was behind the veil. And so he moved the streets and he could not find this oak door. And so he started asking people around, where is this woman? Where is this oak door? And no one seemed to know where the oak door was. And so this man, he became confused. So what's going on? And so he looked and searched, but the oak door was never found. And after that, he had to move. He had to go to where his legs would lead him, and that's home. So he went home, and when he reached home, the mother asked him to say, what is the matter? Where is she? And in that moment, with tears rolling down his face, he told the mother everything. I told my mom everything, said the old man to the king. And the mother said, you are a fool. Who does that? You're a happy man, but how can you be so foolish? But it's not too late. You can still go to the lake and try to find the box. Maybe, only maybe, you can still get your wife back. And so that man, that's how that man, moved the streets and went to the lake and started, casting his net, and then he was just catching fish, casting his net back to the river, pulls it and removes the fish and throws the fish back in the water, casts his net on the water, pulls it out and then removes the fish and throws the fish back in the water and casts his net back in the water. So maybe, only maybe, he'll find his wife. From that day, the next day, the next day, and it's been now years he's been just fishing, trying to find his wife. And so, Your Majesty, you've heard my story. I need to go back to the lake. Maybe today is my lucky day. Maybe, only maybe today, I can find my wife. And so the man bowed in front of the king and said, let me go back to my work. Maybe today could be my lucky day. And the man went back to the lake. He continued, rowed over his boat, and he continued, he got the net, throws it on the water, pulls it out, removes the fish, throws the fish back in the water, casts the net back, and pulls it out in the hope of finding his wife. Gets the net, throws it back in the water, pulls it back, casts the net, pulls it out, removes the fish, throws the fish back in the water, casts the net, and pulls it out, removes the fish, throws the fish back in the water, casts the net again, throws back the fish in the water, and casts the net again and again with the hope of finding his wife. He casts the net again, he pulls it. He casts the net again, he pulls it, and removes the fish, throws the fish back in the water. And that's the end of the story.